Let's take a look at a program called Show Options, or also known as Presentation Options. This small software package basically enables the Casablanca to be used in a demo setting or a kiosk setting that might allow for a better performance when watching or viewing a storyboard playback of a Casablanca. The software is actually one that can be used on all of our versions of SmartEdit 2, 3, 4, even the older version of 1.0. It's actually called Show Options when you look for it alphabetically in the Install Product menu. So we'll scroll down here and find Show Options. You might even find it on your licensing sticker, also called in German Optionen. When the Show Options has been activated on your machine, you'll notice that when you boot up the Casablanca, if you've activated one of the options, it'll even give you a little menu that tells you that Presentation Options has had one of its features enabled. This might delay the boot up for a few seconds, but it'll go away and then you can come back to the main menu. Presentation Options is located right in the system settings of your Casablanca. And there's one button that's going to enable all the options. So I'll left click on Presentation Options, and you'll see it's not a very big menu, not a lot of things here, but some of it might have been a mystery to you if you've ever actually used parts of Presentation Options or other parts you've never bothered to take a look at. The first one up at the top is called the play counter. Whenever you see any of these dashes, this indicates that this feature or this option of the Show Options has not been activated. When you click the check mark, this will activate that particular feature. And the first one here is called the play counter. In the past, you've probably seen, and most of the time, whenever we're using a Casablanca scene, whether it's been added to the storyboard or you play it down here in the scene bin, when you play, you always have your little play counter here. Allows you to move it out of the way, pause, stop, freeze the video. Same thing for the storyboard. You always have this ability to see where you are on the storyboard in time, but stop or pause as you're progressing through the video. The Presentation Options gives you the option to deactivate that play counter. So when this is actually set to a dash, whenever we play our scenes in the scene bin, you'll no longer have the play counter. It's just going to be the straight up video. This allows you to actually even play from the storyboard out to your finished tape if you're using an analog output. This will let you play the whole storyboard or maybe play from a certain point on the storyboard and not have the play counter in the way. The other option in Presentation Options is called the loop mode. When you checkmark the loop mode, this basically is enabling an option to make the scenes play over and over again once they complete their end. So we'll find a short scene down here in the scene bin, or trim one of these down a little bit. So here's a 1-second scene. I'll play it. When the scene reaches the end, it'll stop and jump and then start over and over again. So it actually loops your video, whether it's an individual scene down in your scene bin or if it's a series of scenes in the storyboard. Once it reaches the end of the storyboard, it will stop and then start playing over and over again until you actually stop or right click on your trackball. This allows you to actually use this in a kiosk setting if you want to have this Casablanca on a display and have a storyboard that's playing your finished project out. You can just walk away, leave the loop on, so you know that your storyboard will repeat over and over again until you stop it. Here's another feature in the Show Options. This is called Play on Startup. When you play this option, whenever you shut the machine off, the next time you boot up, it's going to start and play the storyboard as soon as it gets past the main logo screen. So instead of coming up to the main menu like you normally do when you boot up, it'll actually go right in and start playing your storyboard for you. This is another feature that'd be useful in kiosk settings or maybe in a school that has a central hub where a TV is playing. Then you can just simply power the Casablanca on and walk on to the other duties, but you'll know that the Casablanca is going to be powering up and immediately playing your storyboard. This option here, Play with Black Border, is one that was introduced with the SmartEdit 3. These first three features were ones that were part of the 1.0 or the SmartEdit 2 option. In the SmartEdit 3 software, we're given this option, Play with Black Border. When this is activated, it actually puts a fine black edge around the far outer edge or underskin area of your video. Sometimes you might have found that some software effects, especially if you used an image size of normal in your project settings, might not have reached the far edge of your video screen. This Play with Black border puts on a nice little mat that finishes off that area, so it gives you a clean image when you're displaying this on a screen. The last feature here in Presentation Options is this Auto Power On or Off switch. When this is checkmarked, you'll notice that the options here that were part of this feature have been activated now in yellow. And what you can do, you can actually set up the Casablanca like a computer to have a normal power on time. I can click on, and this is what time I want this Casablanca to start up. And this is what time I want the Casablanca to shut down. So maybe I'm going to give it a little 5-hour run during the day, and I know that I want it to kick on and come on for me, and then have it shut off at this time of the day. And you can have this set for a daily setup, or a Monday through Friday setup, or a Monday through Saturday setup. One of the things that this also does is if you found in SmartEdit 3.0 in the high versions or 4.0, that if you sit idle on the main menu of the Casablanca, after about a half hour, the system does an auto shutdown. So this saves time and power and energy on the machine. If you've activated your presentation options and turned on your auto power on or off option, this will keep the machine from stopping and shutting down on that main menu when you do the power up. It'll stay on for as long as you have it set up for your switch. So when it has off, that will be when it shuts down, even if you're staying idle on that main menu. Otherwise, just as a tip here, if you don't want it to shut down or it's caught you off guard, if you've left the machine on the main menu and the machine seems to be shutting down because of that save, you can always enter in any menu, and that will stop it from shutting down like that. The last option or last feature that you have in the presentation options, or as also known as the show options, is your default setting. And the default setting will just enable just the play counter as the only option or feature that will be activated with the presentation options feature list. So we would just be using a play counter, so you'd have your little play, pause, and stop running whenever you play your video. A small little package, very useful for certainly demos or kiosk situations when you want to have things play on the storyboard, or maybe even just as a general editing operation. It's kind of nice to be able to remove those little play counters if you don't want them, or loop your video over and over.